So hello everybody, my name is Neil Giles. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of an initiative called Traffik Analysis Hub, which is a not-for-profit working to build the biggest repository of stories of human trafficking that's available anywhere in the world for every actor to draw upon, whether you're in business or banking, to help you understand your risk from trafficking proceeds or for exploited labour in your supply chain, whether you're a policymaker in a government or whether you're a law enforcement official or indeed a not-for-profit that tends to be involved in the issue of anti-trafficking. The insights and analysis available in Traffik Analysis Hub are there for you to use to enhance the work that you do, to be more focused in the audit functions that you may have, and you've never got enough audit functions. So over the next sort of 15 or so minutes, I'm going to explore our journey to this place. I'm not a technology expert. I'm a law enforcement expert with an intelligence and organised crime background. But I maintain that this is true, that for the first time in history, business leaders, not law enforcement or policymakers, business leaders have got the opportunity to make trafficking in persons, the issue of modern slavery, which is huge, something to consign to history. And I'm showing you a screen now, a video of flight patterns. Two reasons for this. Number one is every journey starts somewhere and ends up somewhere. And in terms of someone who's trafficked into exploitation, that journey is a myriad of data points that if we capture them appropriately, compare and contrast them with others, begin to build a sense of hotspots, as you can see beginning to emerge on this screen, then those data points become useful to a variety of actors. They become useful to those in the banking and finance sector. They become useful to those who are examining the supply chains for their products and services. And they become useful to law enforcement and not-for-profits. And that's why we're called Traffik Analysis. And the second reason we're called Traffik Analysis is actually that we stole the title from the Bletchley Park Second World War laboratory in the UK that broke the Enigma codes, but before that were monitoring proliferation of radio traffic amongst enemy forces and enabling military options to respond to those radio signals. And they called that program Traffik Analysis, and it was a scientist called Gordon Welchman that we borrowed this title from. So please remember that our journey with the victims of trafficking has taught us that every journey into trafficking has value if you can break it down into data points. Size of the problem is this. Depending upon which academic estimate you anticipate is right, somewhere between 20 and 40 million people across the world are currently in circumstances of trafficking and exploitation. The problem we have is less than 0.5% of those come to the notice of the authorities and share their stories. And even then it's often shared in a judicial function way, which doesn't scale it out for the use of the broader community that could use that data to ensure trafficking didn't happen quite so easily. So it follows we're trying here to bring a community that works with the victims of trafficking, the survivors of trafficking, often not-for-profits, often small, often poorly resourced. We're trying to bring them together to share the stories that they know in a way that we can aggregate, compare, contrast, and produce insights and analysis for every sector to use. A not uninteresting fact is that this is $150 billion a year of revenue from those in exploitation, and that money goes through financial institutions pretty much unspotted. So it follows that whatever we do here, we're trying to spot the money. The issue of trafficking in persons sits on 4 foundation stones. It needs to recruit nearly 8 million people every year, and it does that effectively through pipelines, through the ability to stimulate the grooming of vulnerable people seeking a new future. 99.9% of journeys into trafficking are undertaken by those who have hope for a new future that turns into exploitation and debt bondage often. And those systems are in place, and it follows that whatever we do with this analysis, we need to find ways to use it to undermine that process. It's about money, it's about income and the ability to move that money. So financial institutions are involved. So it follows that the analysis and insights must give those institutions more opportunity to spot and stop. It's about demand. There is a consistent and growing demand for cheap labour, for unregulated labour, for contract labour, and there lies opportunity for traffickers. This is so whether it's commercial sexual exploitation, which is something like a third of that total I told you about, the 20 odd million, or forced labour, which is the other 2/3. It's construction, it's big agriculture, it's manufacturing, it's food production, it's big fishing, it's logistics and warehousing. These are the stomping grounds of trafficking gangs who are able to infiltrate their workers into a workforce without them being found. We need to give business the opportunity to spot and stop this. And last but not least, whatever we do here has to change the balance of risks. At the moment, it's seen by traffickers as a pretty risk-free environment. We need businesses to change that sense of risk. Businesses and financial institutions have the power, a disproportionate power, to use data to change this scenario. And I said that first. Justice process has a big part to play in this problem, in changing this problem for good, but we are not going to arrest our way out of this problem. We have to understand this is an errant economy, and the data shows us that, and we have to use that data to change the economic fundamentals. So our journey has been probably about 5 years with IBM, who began to invest in a small corporate social responsibility way with us, Stop the Traffic, a small NGO specializing in the prevention of human trafficking. And then in 2017, they brought a senior solution architect, John McGrath, from their security world to facilitate a 3-day workshop in London to try to get to a point where we knew what we needed, what every actor needed to see to be able to work against this errant economy that we've managed to intertwine with our legitimate. And so we had Europol, National Crime Agency, our Home Office, policy people. We had representatives from NGOs, from banks, from businesses, all in the same room for 3 days, brainstorming how we were going to take this issue forward. And since then, IBM have invested significant treasure and significant intellectual capital to build Traffik Analysis Hub. They're still doing that. I have their commitment financially for at least the first 3 months of next year. And after that point, I hope to be standing on my own 2 feet and able to fund ongoing development. But this is no time to stop developing and building this hub to new heights. It's a headline issue for IBM globally. The picture you see is Ginny Rometty, who's just stopped being the chief executive of Traffik Analysis Hub. She spoke about this work with us routinely at their headline events. This is our public website. I'm going to take you back there in due course and show you the links to the platform. But essentially, as you can see on the screen, it's the classic website, our mission, how it works, and I'll show you a video of the hub in operation, how to join us, and indeed, if you're an authorized member of the organization, a participant, you can log in using this link. It's a partnership between IBM, as I've said, between Stop the Traffic an anti-trafficking NGO of 15 years standing, and the global law firm Clifford Chance, LLP, who frankly have, in a pro bono sense, given us all of our legal support and legal advice over the last 3.5 years and continue to do so. And that is, again, a significant amount of investment from that law firm, for which we are very grateful. And this is the data flow. So moving from left to right, discover, enrich, process, and deliver. And I expect I'm talking to a bunch of folk who truly understand this world, whereas I am a detective. But I'll go through it very quickly. We ingest the data from various sources. Top left is the best quality, subject matter expert material from NGOs, from financial investigators and anti-money laundering experts, from law enforcement and departments of justice. So manually created, unique sources, high quality, the true stories of journeys into trafficking. Second level, machine learning scraped from open source using natural language understanding. The biggest IBM Discovery News collection, which is something like over 400,000 sources in 6 languages, and we're growing the language capability weekly. And the Google Earth project exploitation data, similar quality material. We're bringing that material in and classifying it through a machine process. We're bringing in some RSS feeds from social media. We've been slower to this party than the others because we understand completely that social media can be complex. And last, we've brought in a lot of open source data, the Open Apparel Registry, rub maps showing all the locations of massage parlors, particularly in the US, truck stops, banks, ATMs, money service bureaus, anywhere that in a map-based system can give an investigator and someone who's looking for insights and analysis a stronger idea of the environment that the trafficking occurs in. Then we go through an enrichment phase, through a process of understanding if the information is valid, if it's right for it to take a place in our system. It goes through a classification handler and it through a geocode handler that both of which we've got pretty decently accurate over several iterations. And then it goes through processing and into a user interface. Principally, it's a map analysis with a risk dashboard capability that we're enhancing to be probably the best in class in terms of understanding the risk that arises to your supply chain, to your business, to where you operate in terms of trafficking in persons. And we also have a community GitHub and a Slack channel for communication for those who wish to work with us to grow the kind of analysis and development that we want to do. So we're not just a strictly in-house capability. And these are just some of the logos of those organizations that have joined us in this work. There are, as you can see, corporates, financial institutions, and a number of research and universities. We make access to this free to universities, NGOs, law enforcement, and we charge a subscription fee, a very reasonable subscription fee, to businesses and financial institutions. And now I'm going to save you from my PowerPoint and take you to the web. And I hope I'm now sharing my map with you. And excuse me while I find the right bit of it. So here you can see how you would land on the map, and the video is showing how we filter it and zoom in, zoom out. Each of those coloured dots represents a number of trafficking cases. Orange dots are 100 plus, yellow dots 10 to 100, green dots 2 to 10. Single paddles, as you can see occasionally, are single reports. You can filter by trafficking type. You can see here chloropleth that shows you the number of records we have for the selection that we've made. You can see as the clustered markers are brought back in, there's a timeline along the bottom here. We're only looking at a month's worth of data. Hotspots, we're looking at, just change the filter yet again to show you how we're working this and growing the amount of data we're going to show you in the map now. Refreshing the map, as it says on the bottom there, longer time periods increase the number of incidents. Changing to clustered markers yet again, uploading it. Several thousand records here now going in to data in California to begin to get close in. Here you can see every time you click on a single link, you get a report card that tells you where the data came from. And also there's a link to the unique issue, a hyperlink to the internet article at the bottom of the card. And here are all the various open source material that we've been able to overlay. Here's another report card. The link, see the hyperlink at the bottom left of the report card there. Clicking out, showing more of the United States, and clicking further out to show the world. So now we're just looking for a particular subset, incidents of trafficking, as opposed to articles that might describe it more broadly. We've clicked on a report here, which is debt bondage. Appears to be from southern China. So a number of elements of the issue there. And now loading a slightly different video representation that begins to show you another feature. These are going to show you route maps here. We think that those, just as I showed you on that video, each pink spot is the beginning of a journey. Each blue spot is the end of a journey into trafficking. Just as it says on the card on the right. We think that banks, financial institutions more broadly, and businesses can begin to understand a great deal about immigrant populations that are trafficked for labor and other purposes here. And it's possible for us to get to the originating article, just as we're showing here, the originating journey of the person that was trafficked from this particular part of Africa into sexual exploitation up in the United States. There's much more to see. I'm going to stop sharing at this point because my time is up. I'm grateful for your attention. If you'd like to learn more about us, www.traffikanalysis.org. And I'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your time.